American Sniper is directed by Clint Eastwood and tells the story of an American sniper, of course, named Chris Kyle, who is the most lethal sniper in U.S. history, and Bradley Cooper is playing Mr. Chris Kyle. Now, I had a lot of expectations for this movie. I thought this would be a return to form for Mr. Clint Eastwood, who's been not so good lately with Hereafter, J. Edgar, and Jersey Boys, which came out this year. And I thought this would be the one. I liked the first trailer. That was very intense. I thought it set a good tone for the movie. And didn't like this movie very much. Let's start with the positives. Bradley Cooper. When I first saw the trailer, I didn't think that Bradley Cooper could pull off being this Texan, because he's like this sexy, suave, smooth kind of guy, and he's got like this gritty Texan with a lot of twang in his accent. But he did a phenomenal job in the transformation. You can barely notice him. He like beefed up so hard, and the accent he put on was very, very good. It didn't sound weird coming from him. It sounded right. It was a good accent. That transformation was very impressive to see. I couldn't even recognize that it was Bradley Cooper. So, props for Cooper in that respect. But that's where the pros really end. And when it really comes to the cons, it all really stems from a really, really bad screenplay, which just got Oscar nominated. So the first 10 minutes of American Sniper are like very weirdly edited. Like starts with him, doing his sniping thing, and then it goes to him as a child, and then right before he joins the army, and then him in the army, and then like to his wedding, and then it goes back to sniping. And the weird thing about the editing, if you want to do flashbacks, like when I saw that they were doing that, okay, like, they're doing like they do in Man of Steel, like throughout the movie they had these flashbacks, like kid, teenager, right before, and all that stuff. But they only did it for the first 10 minutes of the movie, so I thought it was so weird and out of place to have it weirdly paced and edited that way. The structure was just weird in the first 10 minutes. And they didn't carry it over, so it felt even more weird. Along with the first 10 minutes, another thing they didn't really do well is showing Bradley Cooper when he's back home and how the war has affected him. They keep saying, "Oh, war has affected you, Bradley Cooper. You don't feel there," but I don't see it. They just say that happens, but I don't see him being affected at home. He goes home. Sienna Miller will complain, justify complaining, of course, and then he'll just leave for another tour. I don't see physically, how war has tormented him at home and how it's affected him. I didn't see that. I wanted to see the post-traumatic stress disorder that I think they were trying to go for, but they didn't even show it. They just said it. I didn't like that. The home scenes were not very good. It didn't really show a lot. It didn't really bring a lot to the characters, and it was really a disappointment. When it comes to the war scenes, at first I'm like, okay, this is looking good, but every single war scene they have drags on so long, and when you have war scenes that go on so long, and you're just seeing and just hearing the same repetitive stuff, it becomes uninteresting, and you lose interest and you lose tension. Clint Eastwood directed the war scenes for so long that you lost tension in the war scenes, and that's not really good on a movie that's really basing itself off the tension of the war scenes. That's supposed to be like the big thing. Oh, it's so intense. Since it dragged on so long, I didn't feel the intensity. And then once they kept doing the war scenes over and over, the intensity didn't start back up because I just knew what I was getting into, more repetitive stuff that drags on way too long. I feel like it was trying to, go for the emotional punches at times, but I didn't feel any emotion. I know there were people in my theater once the movie ended. I think people were just in their seats. They were actually emotionally affected and crying. I just didn't feel that. I didn't feel the emotional punch because I just didn't feel how war was affecting Cooper. They just said it, they didn't show it. And when you do that, it also loses emotion. And I just did not feel the emotional punch that the movie was trying to display. Sienna Miller does a pretty good job. I mean, She's not really challenged with the script. I think anyone could have played that role, but Sienna Miller was fine. I can't knock her because of the script, because she does some decent stuff given what the writing is. So, props to Sienna Miller as well. I mean, at the end of the day, Clint Eastwood kind of dropped the ball on this movie. I think in the hands of another director, American Sniper would have been really good, but this was such a misfire on so many levels. All starts with a terrible, terrible screenplay, and the first 10 minutes of the movie, the weird pacing of that, the war scenes dragged down too long. I didn't feel the emotional punch. The characters felt somewhat hollow, especially Cooper's character. I didn't feel the substance of his character like I should have, and that's really, really bad. This movie was such a disappointment for me. I think Clint Eastwood definitely was the major flaw of this movie with his directing. I think in the hands of maybe maybe a Spielberg or a David O. Russell. I mean, it's got Bradley Cooper, so I'm surprised David O. Russell isn't directing it. Such a disappointment. If I had to give it a score, I would have to say 1.5 out of 5 reels. Guys, this was a really disappointing movie, and it just got nominated for Best Picture. If you saw my Oscar reaction video, you know how disappointed I was to see American Sniper get nominated for all this stuff. But I don't recommend seeing it. What did you guys think of American Sniper? Make sure to comment below. Hit me up on Twitter. You can check me out on my website, brendanhasablog.wordpress.com. Until next time, I'm Brendan Weissman. Peace.